Henry first saw Lila at the spring fair, spinning like a whirling dervish as she danced to the folk band playing under the big oak tree. Her long brown hair flew out behind her, catching the golden late afternoon light, and the emerald green skirt of her sundress flared up, exposing strong bronzed legs and bare feet covered in grass. Henry was captivated. In that moment, his life was divided neatly into two parts before he saw Lila dance and after. She was a gypsy soul, he could tell straight away, a free spirit not meant to be pinned down or claimed, flitting from one adventure to the next. But oh, how he longed to try to capture her heart, even for a short while, like a butterfly alighting on an outstretched palm before taking wing again. As the band finished their set and the modest crowd dispersed, Henry gathered his courage and approached the girl who had bewitched him with her unself-conscious joy. Up close, he could see she had luminous hazel eyes, a smattering of freckles across her nose, and a wide smile that made him weak at the knees. "That was some incredible dancing," he said shyly. "I don't think I've ever seen anyone move like that." Lila laughed, bright and bubbly like champagne, and shrugged. "I wasn't really thinking about it. The music just takes me over and my body does the rest. I'm Lila, by the way." "Henry," he replied, shaking her outstretched hand. Her skin was warm and slightly calloused working hands. "Can I buy you a lemonade or something? There's a stand over by the Ferris wheel." And so it began, a courtship as old as time itself, holding hands and sharing popcorn as they strolled through the fair, sneaking kisses behind the fortune teller's tent, sweet and clumsy with newness, lying on a picnic blanket looking up at the stars, talking about everything and nothing until the fireflies came out. Henry discovered that Lila was even more fascinating than he could have imagined. Raised by her grandmother, an eccentric artist, in a bohemian cottage at the edge of town, she'd had an unconventional upbringing. There were no rules, only love and encouragement to be herself. Lila learned to paint before she could read. She went barefoot everywhere and talked to animals like they were friends. While other little girls had played with dolls, Lila collected bird feathers and made potions from herbs and berries. Now, at 19, she was just as wild and untamed. She worked in her grandmother's New Age shop, selling incense and crystals and giving tarot readings on the side. In her free time, she wandered the woods and danced in meadows and swam naked in the river. Every moment with her felt thrilling and full of possibility to Henry. He was more steady and responsible, working as a carpenter to help his widowed mother pay the bills. All his life, he'd felt the weight of duty and the grind of routine. With Lila, the world opened up. She brought color and music and laughter. She made him believe in magic. As spring turned to summer, they became inseparable. Lila showed Henry her secret swimming spots and favorite spots to stargaze. Henry taught Lila how to waltz and took her for rides in his beat-up pickup truck. They got matching crescent moon tattoos on their wrists one heady night, giddy and drunk on cheap wine and young love. Henry knew he was falling hard and fast. He started to imagine a future with Lila, building her a house with his own hands, filling it with art and plants and flea market finds. Lazy Sunday mornings tangled up in Egyptian cotton sheets. Raucous dinner parties with friends that lasted until dawn. Traveling the world with only what they could carry on their backs. Growing old together. It was an intoxicating fantasy, but a tiny voice of doubt kept whispering that Lila was meant for a different life, that she would never be content to stay in their backwater hometown, no matter how much she loved him, that he could never be enough for her hungry soul. As the leaves began to turn and there was a new crispness to the air, Lila started to get restless. She would disappear for hours or even whole days, coming back with leaves in her hair and a faraway look in her eyes. She talked more and more about all the places she wanted to go: New Orleans, Marrakesh, Bali, Berlin. Henry's heart squeezed painfully every time. He knew she would leave one day. It was only a matter of time. The end came on a stormy October night. Rain lashed the windows and wind howled around the eaves of the little cottage as they lay entwined on the rag rug in front of the fireplace. In the flickering light, Lila looked ethereally beautiful and desperately sad. "I'm leaving tomorrow," she whispered. "I'm sorry, my love, but I have to. This town is suffocating me. I feel like I'm withering away. I need to see the world, have adventures, find out who I really am. Tears streamed down Henry's face, but he nodded. As much as it gutted him, he understood. He knew caging Lila would be a fate worse than death for her. I know, he choked out. I've always known, and I want you to go and live the biggest, most incredible life possible. Don't you dare let anything hold you back. Not even me. But wherever you end up, just remember, you have a piece of my heart. And I will wait for you, Delilah Jane. Even if it takes a lifetime, I'll be here. They made love one last time. A frantic tangle of lips and limbs, salt mingling with the sweetness of their tears. As the storm raged outside, they raged against the dying of their light inside. Just before dawn, Lila slipped out of bed and dressed quietly. She tucked a note into Henry's work boot and placed one last feather-soft kiss on his sleeping brow. Then she shouldered her patchwork backpack and walked out of his life. Henry woke alone, already knowing she would be gone. He unfolded the piece of sketch paper with shaking hands. My dearest Henry, please know that you have been the great love of my life so far. You saw me, the real me, and loved me for exactly who I am. You made me feel cherished and safe and more myself than I ever have. I wish I was the kind of girl who could be content with a simple life in a small town. But we both know that's not me. I have to follow this burning wanderlust inside me, or I'm afraid I will lose myself entirely. I don't know how long I'll be gone or where I'll end up, but I do know two things with complete certainty. I will dance, every chance I get, in sun-dappled piazzas and ancient temples and underground clubs pulsing with life. And every time I do, I will think of you, my first and truest partner. I will come back to you someday. Time and distance cannot erase a connection like ours. You are etched into my very bones. When I've seen enough, experienced enough, maybe even loved a little more, I will find my way home to you. Hold this in your incredible heart. You are my great love story, Henry Locke, my youthful folly and my destiny. This is not the end of our ballad, my darling, just a bridge in the song. One day, we will waltz together again beneath our favorite oak tree. Until then, live well, be happy, and know that you are so very loved. Eternally yours, your Lila Wilder. He read it again and again, until the words blurred and he had to stop because the paper was growing wet with his tears. Then he carefully folded it back up, tucked it inside the front cover of his grandfather's old compass that he kept on his nightstand, and got up to face the first day of his life without her. A year passed, then 2, then 5. Time did not heal Henry's wounds so much as scab them over. He carried Lila with him everywhere, like a smooth river stone in his pocket. He worked, he spent time with friends and family, he even took other girls out on dates. But none could ever hope to measure up to his memories of those golden months with his green-eyed girl. Lila's grandmother passed away, leaving her the shop and the cottage. Henry took it upon himself to keep an eye on both, airing out the rooms and dusting the stock to keep them ready for Lila's return. He planted a garden behind the little house, filling it with all the herbs and flowers he knew she loved. Sometimes, in the violet light of dusk, he would sit on the back steps and talk to her as if she was there beside him. He never once doubted that she would make her way back eventually. Meanwhile, postcards arrived from all over the globe, tracking Lila's odyssey. A sun-faded picture of the Eiffel Tower finally made it to Paris. It's just as magical as we always imagined. Dance till dawn in a jazz club that Duke Ellington used to play in. When the sun hit the Seine just right, it was the same green gold as your eyes. How I wish you were here to see it with me.
You, elle.
An oversaturated snapshot of a beach with turquoise water. Island hopping in Greece. The light and colors here are incredible. I filled a whole sketchbook already. Miss you desperately. Love, your gypsy girl. A black and white photograph of an alleyway in Buenos Aires. Tango lessons are going well. You'd hardly recognize my footwork now. But all I can think about is the way you used to sweep me across the dance floor. At night, I dream of fireflies and your smile. Soon, my darling.
Con todo mi amor, Lila.
Each message both broke Henry's heart and made it soar anew. It was an exquisite sort of torture, to know she was out there living so vividly but without him by her side. but he cherished every crumb, stored them up like a squirrel hoarding acorns for winter. They were proof that she was still his Lila, that she still carried him with her the same way he carried her with him. Always. After nearly a decade, the postcards stopped abruptly. Henry checked his mailbox compulsively for months, stomach twisting with dread each time it turned up empty. He called every hospital in every city he knew she'd been, terrified that something terrible had happened. But there was no record of a Delilah Jane Wilder anywhere. It was as if she had vanished into the ether. Henry grieved. He raged. He bargained with a God he had never fully believed in. In his darkest moments, he wondered if it had all been a dream, a beautiful delusion. How could a love that burned so bright, that felt so much larger and truer than life, just sputter out like a candle? Had he gotten it all wrong? Had he been a lovesick fool this whole time, projecting his own desperate need onto a girl who had never really been his at all? In the end, it was Lila's letter, worn and creased from years of rereading, that brought Henry back to himself. He knew, bone deep and soul sure, that what they had shared was real, maybe even the realest thing he would ever have. And he had made a promise to wait for her, to trust in their love even as it slipped through his fingers like sand. He would honor that promise if it was the last thing he ever did. So he rebuilt his life around the sorrow, brick by brick. He took over his uncle's carpentry business and threw himself into work, gaining a reputation as a master craftsman. He volunteered, coaching the high school baseball team and teaching carpentry to at-risk youth at the community center. He spent time with his mother, took his young cousins fishing, had beers with his buddies. Slowly, millimeter by millimeter, his world expanded again. Until one drizzly Saturday afternoon in April, a decade to the day after Lila left, the bell above the shop door jingled and there she stood. Henry was at the register going over accounts, and he dropped his pen in shock. She was thinner than he remembered, fine lines around her eyes and mouth, an unfamiliar fragility to the set of her shoulders. But her hair was the same riot of coppery brown curls, and her eyes still sparkled with mischief. When she saw him, her smile could have rivaled the sun for brightness. "Hello, my darling. I'm home," she said softly. They collided in a tangle of reaching arms and joyful tears, murmuring endearments and apologies in equal measure. They sank to the scarred wooden floor, foreheads pressed together, breathing in sync as if no time had passed at all. Later, in a stolen moment of stillness, Henry finally found his voice again. "I thought I'd lost you," he said hoarsely, running a reverent hand over her hair, her cheek, the angle of her jaw. When the postcard stopped, I was so scared that. "I know. I'm so sorry," Lila whispered, eyes shining with unshed tears. "I never meant to worry you. I needed to disappear for a while. Go where nobody knew my name or my story." She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Henry, I have a confession. I met someone on my travels." Henry's heart seized and he slammed his eyes shut against the pane, unable to look at her. But Lila cupped his face in her elegant hands, stroking her thumbs across the apples of his cheeks. "Open your eyes, my love. Let me finish. His name was James. We crossed paths in Kyoto. He was a photojournalist, originally from London. Handsome as hell and twice as charming. I thought maybe he was what I had been searching for all those years." Henry let out a shuddering breath, trying to brace himself for a blow he wasn't at all sure he could survive. "We traveled together for a few months: Thailand, India, Nepal. And it was exciting and fun and I cared for him. But there was always something essential missing. It was like a sweater that's just slightly the wrong size. Looks fine but never sits quite right. Never really keeps you warm." She tipped his chin up, forcing their gazes to meet again. Hers was direct and clear, shining with a quiet conviction. "It wasn't until I left him in Kathmandu that I realized what it was. Why it never felt completely real with him or anyone else." "Why?" Henry breathed, scarcely daring to hope. "Because he wasn't you. No one has ever been or ever will be you," she said simply. "You're my true north, Henry Locke, my home in the world. I've always known that, I think." I just had to run far enough and long enough to know it in my bones. And now I'm done running. If you'll still have me." He surged forward to capture her lips in a searing, claiming kiss. It was awkward and messy and utterly perfect. He poured 10 years' worth of pent-up longing and urgency into it, staking his claim, making it clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that she was his. When they finally came up for air, Henry peppered tiny kisses across her face, dizzy with relief and happiness. "I told you I would wait forever if I had to," he murmured against her skin. "You're my great love story too, Lila Wilder. The only one I ever want to be part of." They celebrated their reunion with Henry's friends and family, a raucous, joyous affair full of laughter and happy tears. Lila begged for everyone's forgiveness for vanishing the way she had, for worrying them, but she was met with nothing but open arms. They had always known, as Henry had, that she would find her way back eventually. In the warm, hazy twilight, Henry led a blindfolded Lila through the backyard garden to the stately oak that bordered the property. When he removed the scarf obscuring her vision, she gasped to see the tree strung with what looked like 1,000 fireflies. Tiny twinkling fairy lights danced in the breeze, illuminating a scene straight out of a dream. A picnic blanket spread with wine and strawberries and a portable record player next to it, already crackling out a familiar tune. "You remembered," she whispered, eyes glassy. "I remember everything about that night. It's never left me," he replied, taking her hand and bringing it to his lips. "Dance with me, Delilah Jane?" And so, in the shadows of their beginning, they waltzed. Foreheads pressed together, arms entwined, heartbeats in sync, just as they always had been. No longer the clumsy, fever-bright teenagers drunk on first love, but two people who had lived and lost, searched and struggled. Two survivors, scarred and weathered by time but still inevitably, inextricably drawn together. When the song ended, Henry dropped to one knee and pulled out a ring box, flipping it open to reveal a delicate silver band crowned with a gleaming emerald. Lila's hands flew to her mouth, eyes wide. "Lila, my wanderer, my gypsy girl, my great love, you have been the only thing I've ever been certain of. Even when the world felt like it was crumbling beneath my feet, I knew that loving you was right and true and inevitable, like the rising of the sun or the turning of the leaves."
A universal constant.
He took a shaky breath, overcome with emotion. "But I don't want to just love you quietly anymore. I want to love you loudly, extravagantly, with everything I have for the rest of our lives. I want to dance with you in the kitchen while we burn dinner. I want to lose my voice cheering you on at gallery openings. I want to make babies with your freckles and my eyes and raise them in this magical place. I want to fall asleep holding your hand when we're 92. Tears were streaming down both their faces now, but Henry soldiered on. "You had to get lost to be found. I understand that now. But if you're finally, truly ready to come home, to be found, I'm here.
I'm yours.
I always have been. Delilah Jane Wilder, gypsy queen of my heart. Will you marry me?" Lila tackled him to the ground in a fierce hug, half laughing, half sobbing. "Yes," she managed to choke out. "Yes, of course, yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger with trembling hands and brought it to his lips, sealing it with a kiss. Then he flipped them over and stretched out on top of her, bracing his weight on his forearms. He wanted to memorize everything about this perfect, shining moment. The dampness of the grass seeping through the blanket, the sweetness of the strawberry wine still clinging to her lips, the early crickets playing a symphony in the trees, the way her body fit against his like they were two halves of a whole. "I can't believe this is real," Lila whispered, threading her fingers into his hair. "I can't believe I get to keep you." "Believe it," Henry said firmly. "You're stuck with me now, Wilder. No more running." "No more running," she agreed, tugging him down for a long, slow kiss full of promise. "Only dancing, for the rest of our lives." They were married at midsummer, barefoot in the grass under a flower-strung arbor. Lila wore a flowing green dress and a crown of wildflowers in her hair. She had never looked more beautiful or more herself. Henry, in his suspenders and shirt sleeves, had never grinned more widely or felt more complete. Their love story had not been easy or straightforward. It had been full of obstacles and separations, misunderstandings and detours. But it had also been shot through with adventure and poetry, the kind of once-in-a-lifetime connection that most people only dream about. And now, after everything, they had finally found their way back to each other, stronger and surer than ever. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in the same hazy gold as that first night at the fair, Henry spun his new wife out onto the makeshift dance floor to the whoops and cheers of their nearest and dearest. With their arms around each other and their eyes locked, the rest of the world fell away until it was just the two of them, swaying to the music of their own hearts. "I love you, Henry Locke," Lila murmured, resting her forehead against his. "Thank you for waiting for me, for believing in us, even when I made it almost impossible. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat," Henry said softly. "Getting to be loved by you, getting to love you, it's the greatest adventure of my life, the only one I ever want to be on." Under the fading light of the longest day of the year, surrounded by fireflies and their favorite people, Henry and Lila danced on, wrapped up in each other and the love they had fought so hard for, the love they had crossed oceans and years and every boundary to find their way back to, the love that would always lead them home, no matter how far they wandered, a love to build a life on. And as the first stars began to wink into existence overhead, even the universe seemed to sigh in contentment, happy to have played a small role in the epic, winding, utterly improbable but equally inevitable journey of two soulmates determined to find each other in every lifetime. Henry and Lila, the carpenter and the gypsy, the boy who waited and the girl who danced. Finally, after everything, in the exact right place and the exact right time. Proof that true love is always worth fighting for, that there is magic to be found in the chasing of fireflies, and that even the most unlikely of happy endings have a way of finding us when we least expect them but need them most. It just takes a little bit of wandering to lead us to where we've always belonged.